All right, and it is live. Welcome, everyone. It's not really a Friday night live stream, it's actually afternoon for me, but it is night for somebody else. With me, I have Bruce Leroy and Elijah. Both of them I have interviewed. Well, I've interviewed both of them, and they came on a live stream hangout some time ago, maybe last year or something. How are you? How are you guys? How's your week so far?
It's been pretty good. I've been working quite a bit. For those of the viewers that don't know, the live stream is a little earlier than usual because I am located in Europe. So I'm about 6 hours ahead of Germany. But yeah, I mean, the week's been pretty good, pretty chill, keeping me busy.
What about you, Bruce?
Man, I just been chilling today. I just finished my run, but I just been working and hitting the gym and living life, man.
Yeah, I feel that. I know, I know you told me that you were actually trying to try out for becoming a police officer. How's that process for that?
Oh yeah, man. So so you got to do the physical assessment first, and then after you pass the physical assessment, you move on to the written, and then you have a oral interview with five other veteran police officers, and then if you pass that, you get the police chief interview. And then after that, they go through your background and the polygraph, and then you're a police officer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I also heard you have to do like a psychological assessment or something
Yeah, I
just to
think, and the
see.
psychological comes in with the background. I think
Okay. So what step are you on currently?
on the background, and I just did my chief interview. So the next step would be the background and polygraph and psychological evaluation and all that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so it sounds like you're almost done or you're on your way. I know police officers make pretty good money. I don't know. I'm not absolutely sure what the annual was for Miami, but I think it was at least 60 grand or somewhere starting there. Maybe 50 to 60 grand starting. Oh, he popped off. Okay. Well, I guess I'll talk to you. Shit. So, Elijah, so how is everything? Are you in Russia right now? Because when I look
Oh
into
no,
your
no,
email, it's like
no,
you
I'm
have
not.
some strange lettering. I'm not sure what it is. Ukraine. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
So on my email, it might come up as Russian because Russian they use the Cyrillic alphabet. Um, but no, I'm not in Russia. I'm in Poland actually, so Eastern Europe. And I actually got here about 8, almost 9 months ago. So it's honestly it's quite a culture shock. I've never traveled to any other countries before, not even Mexico or Canada. So um, it's super different. The people are different, the food,
Hmm.
um, just everything. Honestly, even the weather, and it's pretty cool. And honestly, man, like a big reason why I wanted to have this discussion was because I noticed. Now I don't watch all your videos, but I watch some of them. I keep up here and there. From my last interview, I think I talked about how I've been kind of getting over TMAU and this, that, and the other. But um, I did want to come back on and just kind of update the people on some of my thoughts and how those have changed and things like that. And had I not changed my outlook on my condition and what I have going on, I wouldn't be in the position that I am today. I wouldn't have traveled. I would have been scared to go on an airplane. I'm actually a teacher for those of you who watched my last interview. I think it was number 32, I believe so, or 33. I did talk about at that time how I was going into teaching and I was student teaching, and that was like a big fear of mine because of the condition. And now it's just part of my life. And I've been teaching for what's it been about almost 2 years. So it's going well. It's going well.
Yeah, I think the last time I talked to you, where you were at the Hangout, you were teaching, but you were teaching in like a underprivileged school somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but in America, I don't. Uh, I
I think
know
I
it's
was student teaching. So like, what do they call it? Like your practical. That's your practical in education. So that's, I believe I was doing that. I haven't listened to my previous interview for, it's been a while. I don't even remember what all that I said in that interview, but I do remember I was pretty close to graduating at the time of that interview.
because from what I recall, you were telling me that you were a teacher within a school where it was a lot of teachers would quit early because of the, I guess, problematic children.
Oh,
Um,
I mean that, yeah, I would say that's most places in the States because, I mean, the profession's pretty challenging. And even with
mhm.
like what Bruce said, being a police officer, that in itself is a very challenging career as well. And I imagine the turnover rate's pretty high. But for teaching, I know for a fact after 5 years, it's over 50% of those teachers, they just don't come back. They just end
Oh,
up saying, well, you know what? This job is hard or it doesn't pay enough or they don't feel supported or whatever it is. Whatever stressor it is causes them to leave the entire profession, not just their job. So I assume within those 5 years, before they end up leaving the career completely, I'm sure they're switching to different schools and they're going to different cities and different states or what have you. So for me, I've definitely seen how difficult of a job it is. Um, but it's honestly a very rewarding job, and thank the Lord I have so much patience. Honestly, I have no idea where I get it from, but a lot of my family members are teachers. They're either teachers
mm,
or somewhere in the, some, they do something in the medical field. Um, but yeah, and honestly, man, teaching abroad is so different compared to the States. Like that's another thing that's super different too. Um, like a few quick bullet points on that would be like in the States, like there's not really a respect for teachers that I would say. I mean, of course, you're going to have those schools here and there that are like, oh, yeah, we do respect our teachers, but it's not, teaching is not really seen as like a prestigious profession in America,
right.
even though like the job that you're doing is you're preparing the future generations for, X, Y, and Z. In Poland, I would say the respect is higher. Um, I'd also say the benefits to teaching abroad are higher as well. So, like, my salary's better. Um, I have better benefits like insurance and medical things and stuff like that. Um,
So that was the incentive.
uh, not quite. Not quite. I do remember in the last interview, I did talk to you about how I was learning different languages.
Right, right.
That's also a big reason as to why. And then I had some issue with my licensing in the States, but I got it solved like literally the last week before I booked my flight to Poland to work at the school. Um, so I could have literally just stayed in the States and did what I was doing, but I like to prepare ahead of time. And so at that time, I was like, well, I might have to figure something out, leave the profession because of this issue. Um, because I had like a temporary license and it was going to expire, which means during the mid year of my contract, I would have to leave my students and kids and become a quote unquote, uh, I guess like a temporary teacher or long term substitute, which I wouldn't want to do. So I was like, I'd rather just teach abroad and get the languages in and still keep my profession and get more respect, better pay, all that stuff. So that's,
Let me ask you this about substitute teachers. Do they have to go through college to become a substitute, or is it?
oh
Uh,
yeah, same
oh,
exact deal. Yeah, at least in Nebraska, because I mean, every state's going to be a little different. But in Nebraska, a substitute teacher, it depends because there's the long-term substitute teachers, and then there's the short-term, like the ones that come in for a day or a week or whatever. Um, the long-term ones, they are teachers. They do the exact same job. They work the same hours, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they only receive half the pay in Nebraska. I don't know how it is in Florida. I don't know how it is in New York and all these other places. But um, yeah, if you don't have a full teaching license, they're not going to give you the full benefits of being a teacher, even though you're capable of doing the exact same thing as someone who is fully licensed. You have to take this thing called a praxis test, which is like an entrance exam to get
Hmm.
into teachers college. And then once you graduate and did all your student teaching hours and got good grades and all that, you have to take an exit test that approves that you're official, quote unquote. And so that's where I was struggling to pass that last test. Um, and if I didn't pass it by a certain date, I would technically not be a fully licensed teacher and I would just be a long term sub. And I didn't want to do that. So,
Mm.
yeah. But yeah,
Yeah,
well, it's, oh, go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna say, yeah. From what you were saying, I did hear some things about how certain countries, often Europe, hold teachers in high regards, almost similar to like engineers. How we see engineers as like a very qualified career path. Um, so yeah, that sort of makes sense. Um, and I also hear like a lot of people do go abroad,
Mm,
out in China or South Korea. I don't know which
yeah.
country pays the most. So I'm pretty sure maybe you
Oh,
would
yeah.
know
Oh,
that.
so if you're looking to teach abroad, Asia and the Middle East are the places to go. Mostly China. They got a lot of jobs, but the government is kind of iffy. And then they got a lot of, I think they got like a firewall with their internet. A lot of things are blocked there. And also, um, with COVID going on still, I think over there, like honestly, they're still on that COVID stuff, which is ridiculous in my opinion. Um, and yeah, Japan's pretty good. South Korea, Vietnam, Thailand is okay, depends where. And then if you're talking the Middle East, the UAE, so like Dubai and Abu Dhabi, they're pretty good. Kuwait, Qatar, all those rich Middle Eastern places, they pay a lot. And a lot of these places will pay for your plane ticket as well. And it's pretty nice.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can see that for Dubai. Isn't like I've heard some type of story about Dubai creating their first underwater or not underwater city. Their first it's supposed to be some type of city that's going to be on sea, and they have
Oh,
plenty of luxurious hotels and things of that nature because I think
mm,
because of oil or something like that. So I can see them probably paying the most for just education and English and things of that nature. But
mm.
uh, it's funny, like it's funny. Well, I don't know. I don't really know what the type of diet Polish people eat, but I do remember seeing some type of documentaries, just watching, I don't know, something about some documentaries about diet, and it was based in the UK. And the thing that sort of shocked me was they eat beans for breakfast,
In
and they eat
Poland or
beans
UK?
and certain type of sausages. And what are the like certain or food choice, maybe not food, meal choices that sort of shocked you when going to Poland?
Yeah. So honestly, first thing is first. In America, there's a lot of chemicals put in our foods. So you have to be like extra, extra careful, especially if you're someone with a specific condition. You have to be extra, extra careful on what you get and looking at the ingredients and stuff. Honestly, man, when I came here, the first thing I noticed was like the fruit, because I was eating fruit every day in the States. And real quick, let me just say this real quick. Before my last interview, I was saying what I would normally eat was eggs. I think it was white rice, uh, fish, white meats, lots of fruit, lots of veggies, and I was kind of limiting gluten. I was limiting my cheese intake and or dairy intake, you could say. And then I was just eating absolutely zero unnatural sugars. Like I would only get my sugars from fruit. And even then, I wouldn't eat bananas and mangoes. At least not mangoes, bananas here and there. But the point is, when I arrived here in Poland, I noticed that the fruit automatically was a lot fresher. It just tastes better. It smells better. It feels legit. You know, like it's hard to explain unless you've literally went somewhere else in the world and have had certain fruit. You're not gonna really know anything else than other than what you have in America, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah, I kind of felt that way when I was in Florida. It was like the fruits and a lot of the vegetables and stuff was a whole lot higher quality than what it was in Oklahoma.
mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
and even not even just that, like a lot of people here, it's kind of a stereotype, but Slavic people they eat a lot of soup. So there's like borscht. It's called a soup that's Ukrainian. It's also Polish. There's also a Russian version, which is pretty much like meat, potatoes, lots of veggies in there. They put oh, I don't know what it's called. I think it's I don't know. It kind of looks like it's like
Tomato
this
sauce.
strong smelling green vine looking vegetable. I don't know, cilantro and stuff like that. They put that in there. They also eat things called like pierogi, which is like kind of like some sort of dumplings.
Mm.
Um, they're not Poland is not really known for their foods like Spain is and Italy, but the point is I can be a lot less careful about what kind of foods I'm eating here in Poland compared to the States. Um, the eggs too, they're literally fresh as hell. Like I will go to the store, I can get some eggs, and there will still be like feathers on some of the eggs. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
they're fresh, real fresh. Um, and the bread, oh, that's another thing. I love bread. I know we're not supposed to eat so much bread, but the bread here is on another level as well. It's very I saw things that I've never seen before. Like they got like sunflower bread, they got like these all sorts of different types of wheat bread. They got of course they got white bread as well, but it's even then it's like a healthier white bread. And in Europe they got this scale that they put on all their foods. So it goes A, B, D, C, no, A, B, C, D, F. I think F is the lowest. Basically, if you get an A, that's like the best nutritional values you can get from a food. If you get an F, that's the absolute worst. And so
Hmm.
when I'm going to the store, I'm looking for like foods that are in the A and the B section. And so that's kind of what I do. So when you're doing
Hold on, quick second.
So Bruce, how's it going?
Man, my freaking phone died right when I started talking. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I think I wonder if I don't know if I can see if anyone's watching the stream. I don't know.
Go to chat
Chat. Yeah, I'm in the chat. I don't
and then
see.
go to comments.
Oh, let me try to.
Yeah, I was
Oh
gonna.
yeah, I see it. I see it. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna just read some. Well, the first question that Quana. I haven't spoke to Quana in a long time. She said, "How have you ever had any issues flying?" But I think you already addressed that, saying you didn't see any reactions when you hopped on a plane to go to Poland. I guess you wouldn't go all the way to Poland, right? It would be like the first stop would be another country, and then you go to another, and then you go
Yeah.
to Poland.
Yeah, I went from Nebraska to Minnesota, and then I went from Minnesota to um, the Netherlands. But I had to change that. I had to change that flight because they said that they're like, "Oh, do you have your jab card?" I said, "Nope." They're like, "Well, you need it to get on the plane." I'm like, "Well, when I booked the flight, that country didn't need it at the time." Like, "Oh, okay, we can rearrange your flight." So then they said, instead of going from Minnesota to the Netherlands, I could go from Minnesota to France. So I went there, and then from France to Poland. And did I have any issues while flying? No. Here's the thing. I do want to say this real quick. I have done a lot of. I've went through a lot of stages with this condition, and I'm sure Bruce has as well, and probably some other people in the chat can relate to this. But honestly, man, I went through a phase where like I first found out about the condition, and then I kind of got hyper anxiety about it, and I went on an emotional roller coaster trying to figure out what's going on, what's causing this, where's the cure for this, blah 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 blah. I ended up getting to a point where I was able to calm down and find out that food was a direct trigger for me, or at least most of it. Um, then I lowered my reactions. I didn't get cured, but I lowered my reactions. And then I ended up, as I said in the last interview, I was faced with having to student teach to graduate. So there came a point where that was my biggest fear. And I had two choices. I can either go through with it and tough it out and get my degree, or I can walk away and kind of cower to the condition. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go through it. And there was literally a point where like it just clicked in my head. Like I just had this mental shift of like I just, it doesn't bother me anymore, to the point where like I'm just gonna do me and then it's whatever. So it's a mental change that I went through. And then I realized when I was going through the semester, sure, yes, I got reactions here and there. Um, but I got through it. And that was huge. And so when people ask, have I ever had any issues while flying? Honestly, man, ever since that point, and ever since me becoming an actual teacher where I'm in a room all day with kids and having meetings after school with adults after working 8 hours, for example, 7 hours, whatever it is, I don't really notice that stuff anymore. I don't really go throughout my day looking and seeking reactions. I'm sure there's a few that I get here and there, but honestly, like I'm living life pretty normally, if that makes sense. And that's something that I wanted to also talk about in this stream as well. And I think a lot of people who are so hyper focused on the condition could benefit from.
Mm, okay. And I
Yeah.
guess both of you feel pretty much the same. You're still living life as though it's normal. Um, there's not really too many limitations on where you're gonna go or things you feel like you should avoid in order to live life.
Exactly.
I would say like I'm aware of it when I see it, but back in the day, I would say, and but when I say back in the day, I'm just talking like a few years ago, like 2 years, a year and a half ago. Um, and,
Wait. So how many? When did it say? It started when you were like in college, right? Or
10th grade. Well, that when I first noticed, I think it was 10th grade, but I could have had it since like ninth or possibly late eighth grade.
mm,
Yeah. But you know what's funny about it is when I first had it, like I just noticed weird situations happen, but I didn't think anything of it. So essentially, I still had the condition, but I was living life normally because I was so oblivious to it. And during that time, I was still doing what I wanted, and I was still meeting people, and I was still participating in activities. The only difference was I would have these weird situations happen once in a while, but I didn't know why. But then once I realized why, that's when the mental thing happened where I was like, "Oh shoot, this is what's going on with me. Now I'm hyper aware of it. Now this is going to affect my day if I see anybody else reacting to it or whatever." That's the moment where I mentally put myself in a little bit of a shell. And then when I found the Discord, I went deeper into that shell of, hyper anxiety, not depression in my point of view, but I was just really anxious about it, and it was very easy. The condition could easily dictate how my day would go. But then it's once I was faced with that point of, face my fears head on or cower once again and not get rid of this, I was able to thrive. And I honestly think, as much as this is a physical battle, I think it's very much a mental battle as well. And I want to let people know, um, if worry about what you can control. If you cannot find a cure, do what you can to limit it. And then in the meantime, win the mental warfare. If you win the mental warfare, you are far more ahead of the curve than most people who have this condition. Because at least for me, the last thing I want to do is have regrets in my life. and be like, man, I wasted this amount of months or years worrying about this condition and trying to please people, because honestly, at the end of the day, if you lower, the reactions by 5% one day or by 50% the next day, people who do not have the condition will not notice and they won't care. If you stink, you stink. You see what I mean? To
Hmm.
us, we see the difference because we're so hyper focused on it. But to the typical person, they don't care nor do they notice. And so my point is, you know, that's in my experience. Maybe for you it's a little different. But for me, I realize that, and I just roll with it.
Well, I wanted to say this. I do think I do think there's pros and cons to going into groups, and but one of the things that most people don't really talk about is the cons of it. And sometimes listening to so many different stories about I don't know, depression or wanting to kill yourself, or I don't know, terrible stories of them being uh, chastised, I don't know, disrespected on a daily basis, that might get to you and makes you apprehensive of going out too. I remember hearing this one story in a group where she was going to a public transit or something like that. And once she walked on the transit, somebody just threw up and told her to get out of here. She smelled so bad. And like, oh shit, I don't think I ever experienced something like that. And hearing things like that constantly, and at the same time, not knowing if you actually have something, the level of, I don't know, offensive odor to that degree, and completely unaware of what are the triggers, what are the things are truly making you smell awful if it is diet related, and what are those food items that can always it can always get to you. And I think that's one of the bad things about it. Another thing I do want to say is I think there are some situations where it is a mental game, but at the same time, I do feel that sometimes you can go into delusion. You could be positively delusional. Um, and is that a
You,
good thing technically?
you,
I guess if you
you can
look at it in
be
a way like, hey, everything's going to be all right, but you visibly see people sh- make make any type of move to stay away from you. You can still always have some type of upbeat attitude, but there could be some delusion to it. And at the same time, I think there's also degrees to how severe it is for some people, uh, to the point that, uh, regardless of eating food, more specifically, I recall talking to some people. I talked to a lot of people. Regardless of what food they eat, they always smell bad.
Mm.
So even doing severe limitations on diet or fasting, all these other things that they try on the internet because they're truly desperate for it, they still give off an odor and they don't know where it's coming from. And everybody clings to the idea that it's T-mal when it there's probably just such a variety of different reasons and conditions. But I I understand where you're coming from with that. I do think there is a strong mental battle that you have to face. And definitely, if you definitely have a positive social group that sort of reinforces, how I don't know, I guess boost your self-esteem, makes you realize that you're more than your condition. I think that plays a factor. And but nonetheless, I think it's a couple of things. I think it's the severity of the odor, and I also think it is. uh, hmm, I also think, yeah, yeah, I guess
I
psychologically,
understand.
how to.
Yeah, I understand Well, Bruce, you want to touch on it a little bit?
I was gonna say you can have a positive delusion, but I've noticed personally you can have a negative delusion too, to where you think that it's way worse than what it is all the time. and you're acting in a certain way to avoid a negative situation happening when a negative situation just isn't going to happen because it might not be as bad that day. I'm not taking anything away from anybody that has had those extreme situations. I've heard of that too. Um, I've had extreme situations. Uh, Me and Elijah were talking about it when I was taking kefir. That it made the odor like 100 times worse for
Mm.
whatever reason, and I had to stop it. But whenever I stopped it, it went back down to the normal level, and I was still getting reactions, and people would still cough and sneeze and be like something stinks in here, but it wasn't as bad, and it wasn't like ever directly towards me, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And I do agree with Elijah because I've been doing that lately too, to where I had I had shut myself away for X amount of years, and I had stopped fighting. I had stopped progressing in my career wise. I just was doing the bare minimum to live and staying shut away from everybody. I wasn't dating. And when I stopped doing that and started trying to live my life again the way that I did before, I realized it wasn't as bad as I was making it out to believe. Now, I'm not saying that, just like you said, it depends a little bit on the severity of the odor. So there's certain things that I just do not do no matter what. Like I will never drink kefir again, ever in my life. I don't drink energy drinks. I don't eat pizza, but I still do eat certain junk foods that don't build up that odor to where everybody is talking about it.
Let me ask you something. Quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is it the kefir or is it just the milk or dairy in itself? Do you drink milk?
So, so I did a couple of experiments. I was telling Elijah about this too. So I did the kefir. It was just, it was literally 100 times worse. If I could put a number on it, it was 100 times worse. Then I was finding dairy-free probiotics, and it still was bad. So eventually, I found that I could take certain strains, and I would be able to go to the bathroom as normal and digest like normal, and it wasn't as bad of an odor, but it was still there, if that makes sense. So like I could take acidophilus by itself, not with like 10 different strains with 50 billion probiotics in it, like just a smaller amount of just a single strain, and that actually helped. So, and I haven't been taking that either for X amount of months since I just got to the point to where, like how you were saying, I just stopped trying to care about it and stopped trying to cure it. I haven't been taking anything. I only have my certain diet restrictions to where I just know for sure I can't have kefir. I can't have energy drinks. I can't have coffee. I can't have pizza. But I still, like yesterday, I went to McDonald's. I got me a double cheeseburger and a Coke. And uh, like earlier, I told you I was running. So I ran like 3 or 4 miles. I was freaking soaked in sweat. And then my phone died right after I got on the stream. So I ran inside Ross, got me a battery pack so I could actually get back on. But the reactions weren't super extreme. And usually they are like right after I work out. That's like the worst. Anytime I'm
Right.
sweating, that's when it's the worst. And it still wasn't that bad. And I went in knowing, okay, I probably stink, but I didn't let it stop me. Like, oh, I'm just not going to go in the store because I know I stink right now. People are going to react and it's going to ruin my day. No, I just went in there, did what I had to do, like I would normally do if I didn't have this condition, and got back on the stream with y'all. It hasn't ruined my day. Nobody, nobody cornered me and said, "Oh, you stink. Get out of the store right now." I'm not taking that away from anybody that's actually happened to. But I'm saying is after you've figured this out, like Elijah was saying, we tend to let it control us. And me, like Elijah, I was like, I'm not finna live with regrets. It's just
Right.
like the police thing that I was talking about earlier. If I was just really in a stronghold from this condition, I'd say I'm not gonna apply to the police because I'm going to have to be around people all day. I'm going to deal with people all day. But I'm still going forward with that.
Well, I guess you would know more than me about police work, but I do know there's a lot of jobs within police work where you don't really have to be around too many people. Maybe one person, especially if you're being
I
introduced,
mean,
you're
even that,
working.
just me having that interview before this last one, sitting there with five police officers in a little small room and have an interview with them for an hour. Like that would put before with me with this condition, I wouldn't want to be in an enclosed space and dealing with people like that to where they did. And when I did that interview, they did not react. They did not act weird at all. They did not do any of the things that I was thinking in my head, like, okay, this is going to happen. It didn't happen that way. And then, like I was saying, there's a negative delusion as well as maybe we could have a positive delusion too.
Yeah, and I would also add to what Bruce said, with the positive delusion. Some people might need that, because some people are extremely, extremely desperate to find something to get them out of that rut. And if it's not the cure that's getting them out of that rut, or if it's not the diet or whatever they're trying to go after, they might need a little bit of positive delusion. But this what I do, what Bruce does, may not be for everybody. If they want to stay doing whatever that they think is working, that's cool. Or if they found a different way to get through it, awesome. But I do think it is worth mentioning that this is pretty mental as well.
It
So
is. Yeah, it is definitely mental. I wanted to say, well, I'll just read the question from the chat. Do you think exercising keeps the odor down? I know you. Well, yeah. I guess I'll ask both of you.
So what I'll say, I figured out uh, sweating 100% gets the odor out. Like you're gonna be your worst right after you leave the gym if you're sweating. And then X amount of hours or days after that, you've gotten X amount of it out of your system, so the odor is going to be lessened. But I have noticed sometimes if I go in and I don't do cardio and I don't sweat, if I just like lifting heavy weights, and I don't get my heart rate up and don't sweat, sometimes it's worse the next day for some reason. I haven't pinpointed exactly why it's like that, but it's 100% a thing.
yeah.
So
Oh,
I
go
would
ahead.
say anybody that's looking to get the odor down, cardio is one of your best friends.
For myself, I can't say I noticed that it reduces it, but I will say you're at your worst when you are sweating, though. I
Hmm.
agree with that. Um, I don't know why, but I feel like for me, and this might sound strange, but like I said, take it with a grain of salt. I don't pay attention to it too much, but I feel like in the summer, I'm better off than the winter because in the summer, if you're sweating more, you're getting more of that stuff out
Hmm.
daily compared to if you're in the cold, like in Poland or Nebraska or North Dakota or wherever, where it's always cold, you're keeping more of that within you, unless you're forcing yourself to go to a sauna every day or what have you. But most people, I think, have just naturally have more toxins within their body during the winter and during the colder temperatures than they do in the hotter temperatures. Assuming they're eating the same stuff every single day, um, just because, like I said, the heat's naturally going to bring a lot of that stuff out compared to the cold, where it's going to keep it there and keep it dormant. And so once you do create body heat in the winter, when you haven't sweat for X amount of days or X amount of time or whatever, it's going to be more pungent.
Hmm. Yeah. I
I've
mean,
actually I've noticed that a little bit too.
I would say in terms of exercising, I figured that out like a long time ago when I was in college. Uh, Figured out like many times when I start to exercise, uh, I would hear less comments, and if I didn't, then I would see more reactions. I would hear people say something. I recall one day when I was didn't exercise at all. I was just tired of just running. So I when I my alarm went off, I didn't get up to go running. I took a shower. After leaving the shower or leaving the bathroom, walked past somebody said, and they said, "This guy smells like shit." And I thought that was the weirdest thing, obviously because I just took a bath like 5 minutes ago. So yeah, exercising definitely uh, releases whatever the excess amount of chemical or whatever irritant that is causing you to smell bad to people or is causing people to rub their noses. Um, Damn, there was something you were saying before. You were before
I
I
was gonna
talked.
say on the shower thing, that's the thing too, because if you take a real hot shower,
Your
even though
pores open up.
you're yeah, your pores open up. So I noticed sometimes I would take cold showers and I'd be a whole lot better off. So a lot of times I'll work out, get all that stuff out, and then I'll take a cold shower when I actually take a shower after the gym, and then I'm good for a while.
Yeah, your pores definitely open up more once you start taking hotter showers, but fuck all that shit. I'm taking a hot shower. That just feels better. I don't, you know. So, uh, damn, there was something. I know you were saying something, Elijah, and I wanted to touch on it.
Well,
Um,
while you think of that, I was gonna say to remind some of the audience, I do actually have a brother who actually has the same condition, and I think that's pretty uncommon because I haven't met anyone or at least talked to anyone that has a family member with it as well. It's usually they're the only one singled out, and they have to ask people when they're in that rut. They're asking people, "Hey, what do you think about this? Am I fresh or am I not, or whatever?" My brother, who currently is, because I have two brothers. The one with it is 18. I believe he's 18. But
how many brothers you have?
say it again.
Hey, if you're confused by the age, I was wondering how many brothers you have.
I got two, and then I got a sister, but I'm the oldest. I got a brother that's so I just turned 26.
Mhm.
Um, I have a brother that's 20. He just turned 22. Another one that's 18, and then my sister is really young. She's in middle school, so there's a big gap between her and I. But my brother, I lived at home a lot during college. There was a time where I did live on campus with a roommate. Um, but at home, like I could, I would only have classes in the morning in college, so it's not like I was there all day like a high school student. But my brother was in high school at the time while I was in university. And so when he would come home, I could just tell, like, he's just got this going on, or he's not looking fresh, or whatever. And there's things that I've seen, like where he's been dropped off by a friend in the car, for example, and it's like the friend has one window rolled all the way down, and it might be, I don't know what, like 30 degrees or something like that. Just like unusual stuff like that that I see and that I realize and know what it is that he might not. Um, but I think I told you this in the last interview, and I think you asked me if oh no, no, you asked me why I haven't told him. And this kind of goes back to my point of when I was not aware of it, I was oblivious to the reason for it. I was still living my life and having fun and doing this, that, and the other. Um, and even though I ended up finding out about it, in my opinion, I made a mental recovery to pretty much get back on track and say, okay, I'm living my life again like it was. But I don't think every single person who has that condition is capable of making that mental comeback, you might say. So,
Hmm.
in my opinion, I don't think my brother is as mentally strong as I am. If I were to sit here and inform him just about the condition or what possibly might be going on, and then he goes on the Discord or finds out all this information, yada yada yada, me knowing my brother, that's going to stress him out, and he's going to go into probably a deeper mental rut than I did. And I don't think it's something that he would come out of, or if he were to come out of, it would take him much longer to come out of it, and a lot more time in his life would pass him by, until he were to get out of that mental rut and live his life again. So, um, yeah, I've just thrown little hints like, "Hey, you should eat healthier" and stuff like that. But he's still, he's still got older, and it's I would say it's stronger than mine. And honestly, he's very popular. He actually won prom king last year, and this
Good for him.
year they haven't had prom yet, but I'm sure he's trying to win it again. He has a lot of friends. He is a star athlete at his high school, um, and he's just a really cool dude. And he's got a girlfriend as well. He's had his girlfriend for about a year now. I want to say maybe a year and a month or two or something like that. It's been a little bit. So again, the reason he has all that stuff going for him because he still has confidence. He's still doing what he loves, and so I just want to make that very, very clear.
I wanted to say, I don't think you were the first person I heard who had some type of family member who has something similar. I can't recall the name of the woman, but she was suffering from halitosis, and she was telling me that I interviewed her, but I think her name was Carol. Carol, and Carol said that she had a sister who was pretty much has a similar condition, but her sister goes out with her friends to the mall and stuff like that, acting like things are normal. And then there's another person I just interviewed recently, where she said that she has a cousin who had a particular odor about him, and she was wondering if that they have some type of similarity. Maybe it's indicative that it's some type of genetic disorder. And then there's another one who was a mother. What was her name? And she felt like her daughter, when she started going through puberty, she started getting this odor thing. So I mean, it was that like three or four. So there's about three or four people I can know offhand who feel like they have the possibly have some type of familiar connection to this weird condition. Um, I think that's fascinating. I don't know, man. I went through a lot of shit. If I found out I have a brother, was going through the same shit, I would fucking tell him. But I don't know. I guess it's just like, uh, hmm, maybe I don't want to say, oh my, I've been traumatized and you have never been traumatized. No, I can't say that. You probably experienced a lot of shit too. But I've experienced enough things in my life. I've been denied enough opportunities where I know, or at least have a strong clue that this odor thing influenced their decision to deny me certain opportunities, or to overlook me, to the point that I would try to help, but
Yeah, I would say me too, but it's one of those things where I keep an eye out on it. You know, if I really see him really mentally going through it, well then yeah, okay, maybe it's time to tell him. But um, if I see him just doing just fine, it's kind of one of those things where I just don't say a word about it. But
hmm
real quick, I see in the comments there's someone, Daniel T Mensa. He said I interviewed him a few years ago. That's true. I forgot I did that interview. Um, yeah. Um, I think he's from the UK. Do you
right.
know who Daniel is?
Yeah, I mean, I interviewed him too, and I was interviewed by him as well.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I think anyone in the comments, like if they want to ask questions, they should totally ask questions so we can, you know, help as many people out as possible while we're here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Go ahead.
that's something that I want to say something about too. When people talk about uh, they know it's this condition is the reason why they didn't get this or that. So for a while, I was dating, after my ex that I was with when I finally got the condition, and I always blamed any women that didn't keep dealing with me. I just always told myself, "Oh, it's because I stink." But once I just really took a step back and thought about it, before I got this condition, there was X amount of women that stopped dealing with me before I even had this. Like, it's not always the condition, but you will condition your mind to always blame it on this. It could be anything. You know what I'm saying? Because
Right.
if it was just because of this, I wouldn't have a girlfriend right now.
Yeah, and I'm interested because we were having conversation on Facebook Messenger about dating and stuff like that. So I'm curious of both of you. I actually made a video just recently about dating. Um, I'm curious for both of you. Both of you are in different stages in life. How I feel like you are. Um, how have you been pursuing dating, and how has dating been for you, for both of you?
Well,
Would you
me
like
me
first?
personally, I have a girlfriend now for
Hmm.
the past 6 months. So I'm obviously not dating anymore. I'm dating her.
Right.
But before her, yeah, man, I had a active a active dating life. Once I got over, like I was saying before, being scared. I don't even know if I was scared, but letting this condition hold me
Apprehensive.
back. And I didn't have any, like, I had X amount of women that we'd go out on a date or two, and then they'd be like, no thanks. And then I had X amount of women that as soon as we started dealing with each other, we hit it right off. So it hasn't stopped me from dating once I stopped letting it stop myself.
Hmm. What about you, Elijah?
Yeah, I would agree with him. For me, I am more into short term flings with women. So um, while Bruce, like, he has longevity with one person that you can definitely see if that person's getting reaction or is giving off reactions or whatever. For me, and my point of view, I would see multiple different women, and I can tell based on different because different people are gonna pick up on different things.
Right.
So even like with the condition, some people detect, some people don't. So with me, I'm pretty unaware of any reactions. I haven't gotten any, I would say, and I've come in contact with quite a few. Um, I don't have an issue with it. If I have an issue with a woman in America or Poland, like it's not because of the condition. It's something that I did, or maybe we just don't get along or whatever. But it's never a thing where, oh, it's because of my condition or whatever like that. Um, from what I can tell, they like being around me, so that's good enough for me.
Yeah, that's very interesting to hear. Because I thought about. It's funny that we're having this live stream, and I guess there is a general topic we're talking about of how you're dealing with it and how you uh, tend to not let it get in your way, progress through when you're going through life or just through pursuing careers or whatever. But I wanted to get other men on and talk about dating life because in my particular position, sometimes I have a number of these apps, and sometimes I might get a match or whatever, but I would, if it goes too well, I feel like, oh shit, I gotta finally meet her ass, and then I just I just stop contacting her, and I guess it's self sabotage or whatever.
That's that's what I
Um,
did. That's exactly what I did, and I wasn't trying to interrupt you, but that's exactly what I did when I was letting it hold me back. I would have X amount of women willing to meet up, and then I would just cancel because I'm like, I don't want her to know that I stink, or whatever. And then once I finally stopped doing that, I started having a lot of fun, and I think that you should too.
Hmm.
I didn't mean
Yeah.
to cut you off.
No, 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 no. It's very interesting. I think this is the greatest part about the live stream, to exchange ideas or hear stories and stuff like that. Uh, yeah, I mean, so I guess I'm not the only one. Obviously, I'm not the only one who thinks about that. But yeah, I mean, definitely, there's been a number of situations where like, I don't know if I want to meet her or something like that, or I would have a bad day where I would hear uh hear people say something and then that'll ruin my mood. So then I'm like, oh damn, I at the point I thought I smelled fine, or because I ate a really nice diet and I felt like I didn't really change. I don't really change too much of my diet. I pretty much eat the same thing almost every day. But if I get a bad reaction on a particular day, then wow, this lowers my confidence. This lowers how I view myself. And if I was already doing exchanges with a woman, I'm like, I don't want to talk to her anymore. Then I just give up on it for like a
I
week.
think I think that is the biggest thing too. It's the confidence thing. So say for whatever reason that day you do have an odor. I think it's less of the odor and more that the chick can see that your confidence has went out the window in the situation.
Yep.
So what I've done is just to make sure I'm confident at at all times. And I always was before this issue. So I just started, like I said, ignoring it. And because I still see it. Like Elijah, he says that he doesn't really see reactions. I still see every reaction. I just don't react to the reactions. And I don't, like I was saying, I don't let it ruin my day the first time I get a reaction during the day. If that was the case, I would get nothing done. I would not get work done. I would not get dating done. I just literally wouldn't get anything done. My girlfriend, honestly, 100%, not all the time, but I've seen her react to me, and I see it and make a note, and then I just keep on going about whatever we're doing. I don't let it bother me,
Let me
and
ask
I
you
think
about
it's
that.
that. Go
So
ahead.
when you see the reactions, and I'm assuming you already brought this up to her that she saw your unusual diet or food that you only eat, and maybe that happened where she might ask you, "Hey, why do you only eat this, or why do you avoid these things?" And maybe you brought up the fact that you have some type of condition. I don't know. I'm only assuming at this moment you brought up that, oh, I have this weird condition that makes me smell bad, and maybe even brought up, hey, do I smell bad? Do you ever have those types of conversations? And if you do, and she says, no, I never smelled you, but then you see reactions, do you feel that deceived if any of those things actually happened?
So this is what I've noticed, and I haven't brought it up with my girlfriend at all. Um, Before, when I was dating, before I met her, I would see it with certain women that were like dealing with me for a period of time, and I asked them, and they'd all, of course, say, "No, you don't stink. I don't smell anything. You smell good." So I just got to the point where I just stopped asking. I
Mm.
just don't ask. I don't ask the question anymore. I don't worry about it. And this is another thing that I was going to say too. I've noticed, like, so we see reactions as coughing, sneezing, runny noses, uh, people maybe covering their nose or whatever. I've noticed people that I thought were reacting to me, or maybe they were reacting to me, like may say I speak to them on the phone. They're still having allergies at a time that I'm not even anywhere near them. So I
Right.
know it's not me constantly, or it's not me all the time. Some people just what you think is a reaction is not even necessarily a reaction to you. They just have allergies or have whatever they have.
Yeah.
And I figured that out too after a certain point because, like we were talking about earlier, you get hyper vigilant of everything. You pay attention to everything, every cough, sneeze, sniffle, uh, nose rub, and sometimes it's literally not even you. It's not even us. At least in my experience.
Yeah. Of course. You overanalyze every situation and you think, oh, maybe that's me. But realistically, you know that within those all the observations, there's a
There
percentage
is a
where it's
correlation. There
yeah.
is a correlation. Yes.
Um yeah, so that's very interesting. So because I'm thinking to myself, I guess there's only two ways to really go about it your way, which is to act like, well, if something happens or some body language, some type of movement or reaction where you think is a reaction, you just ignore it and continue to move, or you just tell them up front about it. And
I've, I've,
um,
I figured out the best thing is just to not even to bring it up. Do not
mm,
bring it up. There's no point because one, they're either going to lie to you, or two, they're going to tell you the truth, but you're going to think that they're lying to you. Because, like Elijah was saying too, everybody can't detect everything on the same level. My nose has always been messed up before this condition. My whole life, I barely can pick up. I have to be like right on top of whatever stinks to
mm,
or whatever smells strong for me to smell it. And I know there's other people like that.
mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people just have a stronger sense of smell, can pick up certain chemicals better than others. So yeah, I definitely believe that when I go out about, go around people, there's always like a few people that react, which makes me feel like their sense of smell is stronger. Um, but what I was gonna say was I was gonna also ask like, okay, so both of you just go out and do whatever you want. Do you I know for me, I still go outside and do stuff, but I have anxiety or I'm paranoid. Is I do think with this condition it does motivate people to be shut-ins or to be like hermits or something like that. But a lot of people have to power through it every day to, I don't know, go to, I don't know, the grocery store or do whatever essential things they need to do to survive. Um, but when it comes to like leisure activities, like, I don't know, like go to a bar, go to a game, I know for me, I always get anxiety when people are in back of me, um, or I had to stand right next to somebody when it's really hot outside and my butt is sweating. And then I start freaking out. My butt and back is sweating, which makes me start to get nervous. Oh shit, I'm sweating. Therefore, I'm going to smell bad. And I get even more nervous. You're telling me within those types of situations, or if you're still in those type of situations, like going to a social event where you have to stand, like going to a concert or going to bars or nightclubs. I don't know if any of you do. I don't even know if there's nightclubs in Poland. Um, do you even do that? And you're telling me if you go to those types of events, you don't think about it at all, or you're not worried, or there's never any type of anxiety that hits you.
So for me, if you are even thinking about, um, oh, what if this happens, or what if this person does this, you already lost the mental battle. You need to like, you literally need to be so focused in on life and the events and the things that are going on right in front of you, that are going to be positive to your life and allow you to enjoy what you're doing. If the first thought that pops into your mind is, "Oh my God, what if someone goes to this side of me, or I don't know, whatever," that's not very good to start off the night, and you're kind of setting yourself up for possible failure or a possible bad night, which you're probably not having a bad night, but you're getting all up in your head, and that's going to cause you to feel like you're having a bad night. Um, Honestly, like I just want to piggyback off of what we were just talking about real quick. Like Bruce was saying, like do not in my advice, um, that I would say, do not ever ask people if you have an odor, because number one, you can't really trust people to begin with, and it's just kind of it just seems like a very I don't know what the right word is, but it's a question of a it's a question of like, oh, I know like my day is going to be dictated off of this. It's a question that you would ask when you feel like you're not confident. So I mean, do not ask people if you have an odor. Number two, I would say, is do not speak to a significant other about TMAU. Do not mention it. Do not say, oh, I need to confess this to you. I am suffering from XYZ. This is why I eat blah, 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 blah. You know, don't get to that point unless you absolutely have to get to that point. In my opinion, I wouldn't ever bring it up, but, try to keep that as far fetched as possible and away from your reach as possible so that you don't have to bring that conversation up to friends or significant others. Um,
Why?
in my opinion, if you bring that up, it comes off as unconfident, in my opinion. And as a man, I think confidence is extremely important. It's such an important trait to keep around friends and significant others. Um, I think it also, like I said, it kind of is a reflection of your mentality. Oh, I don't feel confident in myself, so I have to ask you, what do you think about this? You know what I mean? Especially if it's a question about your personal hygiene, or if it's like how you look or something like that. It's all within the same realm. In my honest opinion,
Hmm.
it doesn't come off as, oh, okay, well, thank you for being on. They might appreciate you being honest in the moment, especially if it's a significant other. But when they think about it and as time passes, they will kind of see it as like, huh, that was strange, and
Well,
it doesn't seem confident, in my opinion.
so do
And
you feel that if you don't exude confidence all the time with your significant other, she's going to look at you in a negative light, or
absolutely, absolutely. I don't know
so?
anybody who I don't know anybody who is not confident and has a very very strong relationship with their significant other, or at least is pretty content with being with their significant other without push coming to shove and without struggle.
Well, I would think. Well, depending upon like the length of the relationship, I can definitely see that with short-term relationships because I don't know, it probably would turn them off. But once you're in a long-term relationship, especially intending to marry, especially intending to be with that person for the rest of your life, yeah, there's going to be situations of vulnerability, and I think that actually shows the other side to you, shows that you're more than just something that you're trying to present to the public. Uh, Within long-term relationships, you're going to see the goods and bads of them, and I don't know if showing the bad or weak side of you, if a woman, if you're trying to marry a woman and you show a weak side to you, and she's like, "Oh, I don't know if I can deal with this person," I don't think that's the right woman to be marrying or spending the rest of your life with, especially she's just so turned off that there are some moments of vulnerability. Like, like it is if there was any type of situation where you start breaking down and crying because of, I don't know, let's say your mother passes away, she's like, oh man, this guy looks so weak. I can't deal with that. Or any situation, let's say you get cancer or something like that, and you go weak on them and you start crying or you start getting depressed and she starts looking at you negatively, I don't think that's the
I would
woman you
say
want to
that's
marry.
kind of like that kind of goes into another topic. But I would say, yeah, it actually does. I mean, everything you just said. Like, if you were to show a sign of weakness, whether that's like crying or that's asking personal questions, is this okay with you? Is that okay? I think it just kind of. I think they're able to pick up on it more than us as men, that it is a sign of weakness or not being confident. And I think that is like I said, it's a very crucial and important trait that you must have and equip at all times as a man. But that's just my opinion.
Hmm.
And from what I have seen, to someone else and to the next guy, it might be different. But from my personal experience, it's never been a good thing to open up like that. Which
So
is
you don't
why
open up to your women at all.
you do, but it's just like it depends what you're opening up about. I mean, you could talk about your day, talk about your hobbies, talk about what you do, blah blah blah. But if you're talking about it from a standpoint of am I good enough? Any questions that kind of resemble am I good enough for you? Or you're looking
Hmm.
for reassurance, it's not a good thing. And honestly,
I
you shouldn't even have those questions of reassurance if you are already confident in yourself. And like for me, like I'm sure other people can relate to this. I just haven't found the need to ask anybody. As far as a significant other, I haven't had a need to ask anybody. Is this okay with you, or does this make you feel okay? I just haven't found myself in that position yet.
Mm. Well, I will.
so
Oh, go ahead.
I want to add just into that real quick. So I've told two different people and got two totally different reactions from them, women. So my ex, I had told her, and she's an ex for a reason, but she used it against me. That was
Mm.
like, and you would think after dealing with each other for 5, almost 6 years, that you'd be close to that person and they wouldn't use something like that against you. But she literally used it against me, bro.
Yeah.
That's why I said I don't. And then I told it to X amount of women that I was dating for a little bit, and they just all said, "No, you don't stink" or whatever. They just dismissed it. So I just got to a point to where I didn't tell anybody that I was trying to deal with on that level. I don't feel like there's a reason. But I will say I had a coworker, and me and her were already cool with each other, like just as far as work wise. We talk outside of work sometimes. And at the end of my day, after running my route all day in the 100-degree Oklahoma weather out here,
Damn.
delivering packages, um, I'd be soaked, bro, in sweat. Like there was no getting around it. No amount of AC was going to fix it. Like I'd be
Mm.
soaked in sweat. So she was filling up the vans every day at the end of our shift, so I'd have to interact with her. In the beginning of the day, she wouldn't react to me. At the end of the day, she reacted bad, like bad, bro. And
Mm.
I felt, I felt bad, like, dang, you're having this bad of a reaction to me. Like she'd start sneezing and coughing, and her eyes would start getting red and watery, and she'd still be trying to be nice to me. She'd be like backing away and moving away. She'd keep
Right.
her distance while she was talking to me, but she was trying to be nice to me. So one day I just literally I just told her. Like I pulled her aside in private and I told her. And she was 100% supportive, and she already treated me good, but she treated me even better after that day. But the caveat is that's a coworker. That's not like my girlfriend or somebody I'm married to or something like that. So there could be two sides to it, I guess. But that's just my experience.
Let me say one more thing real quick to jump off of that. Have you ever seen the SpongeBob episode where he pulls out the magic conch? That box. You don't pull out the magic conch unless you have absolutely nothing else to go off of. And in this case, the magic conch is, hey, I need to set you aside real quick and talk to you about something. You do
Bro,
not come
you
out
got
of
you got to
nowhere and pull out
remind
the
me to
magic
have the
conch on your
episode. I
person.
think there was a magic conch. You got to what was the whole break down the episode?
I don't remember it clearly, but the point of it was like the secret. It was like the almighty sort of deal, the most valuable thing or instrument or something out of all the other
Hmm.
instruments. You don't come out with your last resort, you know, at the beginning of the battle or of the war or whatever it is. You wait until you have used all other resources, excuses, or whatever it is you got to use until you are pinpointed in a corner and you say, "Hey, I need to talk to you about something."
I agree.
But that's just my, again. These are just all my points of view. Anyone can disagree. Anyone can agree, but um, it's like, why bring up something that hasn't really shown itself to be a necessity yet? Because then that other person starts asking questions like, "Well, he brought this up so soon. I didn't do anything to trigger that sort of question. Now I'm
Right.
curious." You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't watched SpongeBob since I was in high school, so that was a very long time ago. So I'm not exactly entirely sure the magic conch and stuff like that. They still have episodes coming out, so that's crazy. But I do want to say, when you're basically trying to say that you don't pull it out until it's like your last option, where maybe she
Well, like
keeps
this,
pressing you about situations, and
it's like
then you might finally.
don't use a tactical nuke when you're just starting the war. See what you can do with your soldiers, and if that's not enough, start using vehicles. If not, convoys and tanks and helicopters. And then if you are, in a certain position where you need to use something stronger, then that's when you use it. So that's the whole point of it.
Hmm.
So maybe that example, it makes more sense.
Yeah, yeah, but I guess I still don't really see having a long-term partner as revealing certain things as you're dealing with as like some type of last resort to give this information you're reluctant to give from. I know Bruce was speaking about well, for his last partner using it to well, I don't know, I can't find the word. I guess
She
spite
used
him.
it.
I guess
Yeah,
uh,
she used it against
deride
me,
him.
bro.
Yeah, yeah. There's lots of people who use certain information that uh, they know that you are self-conscious about, and they will continue. Actually, I've heard several stories about, their partners will say, "Oh, this you did smell all this time," or some shit like that, and I can't believe I
Yep.
had to deal with you. Like, especially when the falling out. Yeah, they're going to try to do anything to hurt you. Um, and it reminded me that I don't know if I should go into this topic. It reminded me, and it's sort of similar, touches on what Elijah says. Like, I agree with the not revealing your important secret things that you feel are very personal to you. I agree to that if it's like people in your workplace. I agree to that if it's like some short term, some fling that you just met and you're just having a couple of dates with them. Because it reminds me of some situations when I was like, I don't know, at work, and I felt like it would be my best interest to reveal to people I have this odor, and it's not because of hygiene issues, it's because I have some weird thing going with my body. And yeah, they use that shit against you.
Let me say one thing.
So
Oh,
You know, what's funny though is that the one that I work with, she like I said, she treats me better than anybody up there. But she's the only one that I spoke to and told too. So I mean, it's
yeah,
just weird how we all have different experiences with doing the same thing and having a similar condition. Because we don't, just like you said before, we don't. More than likely, we don't have TMAL. More than likely, we all don't have TMAL, but we have something similar to it.
right.
I want to say one thing real quick. So going back to what we were just saying, even though I typically rely on flings with my encounters with women, there have been plenty who have stayed longer than I would have liked them to stay. Like there are some that have stuck around for over a year, and we don't have any title, we don't have no relationship going on. We just have an
Situationship.
agreement. Like, we know what the deal is. Every time we meet up, this is what is expected, this is what is not. And those who have lasted the longest, every single one of them, I have not had to pull out this magic conch and say, "Oh, hey, look, I need to sit you aside and tell you about this." No, the ones that have lasted the longest with me, it's because I've maintained myself and I've been doing what I've always wanted to do. And I've been on point as far as confidence or whatever it may be. So when you're asking about like, dating with the condition, from my personal experience, I mean, if you're just on your P's and Q's, especially mentally, I think you will be well off. And honestly, this mental thing that I talk about, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to change overnight. I think there has to be a certain point in your life where there's like this ooh ah moment that happens, and then you personally just go through that change, and you know just go on with life. But I don't, as we can sit here and talk about it as much as we want, but I don't think it's going to be enough to really make someone change their mind right off the bat. You know, if it does, it might be a very small percentage of people, but I think the majority of people, they just got to go through some experience in their life with it, where they just get to this point where they're either gonna, you know, fight back or kind of, just keel over and die. So it's just one of those deals.
What you're saying reminds me of a term uh, called cognitive behavioral therapy. Um, and basically, it's it's basically assessing your thoughts, um, and assessing why you feel this way. Is this way of thinking productive? And how can you think in a better way that's going to make you productive or successful? So this is supposed to help for people who are depressed and have anxiety. I actually went to a therapist. I don't know if it was like last year or the year before, and she introduced me to this idea of assessing um, your thoughts, and is this the right mindset, a right way of thinking that's going to make you more successful. For example, like let's say that you take a test, you're in school, you take a test, and you get a D, and your response is, "Man, I got a D because I'm always stupid." But with like cognitive behavioral therapy, they want you to assess your thoughts instead of thinking in the way that uh, I'm stupid because I got a D. Maybe you should think in a way that where it's like maybe I need to, you know, study more or blah blah blah, or maybe I just didn't read enough material instead of automatically concluding in uh, a negative way about yourself. So that's what you're saying sort of reminds me of, and I do feel that there is a lot of truth to that. Even if there is some situation where with many of our conditions where it's uncontrollable and people reject you, some people reject you because they can detect it and they feel that you are unclean or unhygienic. You can assess your thoughts in a certain way where it's like you have a better positive outlook compared to just saying, "Oh, I stink. I'm always going to stink, and therefore no one's going to want me ever again." Um, and I have a lot of thoughts about that. I do think that overall, that is a great way of trying to put yourself in a hole, in a negative hole, where you just think, "Oh, I'm never going to achieve anything in life, whatever goals you have in life." You catch yourself in the moment where you say something negative and try to really think in a rational way. How do I know I will never achieve whatever goal in life just because of these certain circumstances or this condition? You know, but you also said this one thing. You said this one thing I wanted to say. Oh, that's what I want to ask you. So you're around women who like still want to be with you even though you're trying to kick them out the bed. What if you ever been in a situation where, well, this is more so Elijah, uh, where you overheard, let's say your name is Melanie. You know, okay, Melanie and you are within the same apartment, whatever, and you have a thing going on. Okay, whatever. And maybe one day you passed by her, but she was unaware and she was talking to somebody and she was talking about you. And she was like, "Man, yeah, I'm dealing with this guy Elijah. He's cool and everything, but he stinks." How would you? how would you respond to that? And this is serious because, well, I'm joking, but like those are like serious situations that happen. Like people walk in, they overhear their best friend talking about them, or they hear their family talking about them, say, "Oh, this guy smells." So what if there was some type of situation where Melanie, whatever, you overhear her talking to some other chick. You're like, "Oh, should I date Elijah? Nah, he stinks. His dick stinks. Don't hang out with him or whatever."
I mean, am I?
It's
I
some
don't
real
know what
shit.
it's like,
This is
but bro,
real.
I would say this. So if that's what they really think, they wouldn't even be around me in the first place. You know,
That's
the
not
only
true
time they,
though. But
that
go ahead.
I mean, the only time they would probably bring that up is if like I don't know. I haven't found myself in that situation that's very specific, but um, I don't know. Um, in my opinion, I come with some sort of energy that doesn't allow a girl to kind of talk like that around me because um, I typically when I see the first usually I mean I've talked to Bruce about a lot of my experiences and sometimes I let them slip through the cracks but like most of the time if I see something that I don't like I kind of call them out on it in a respectful way and that sets the tone right then and there. And
So you
honestly, I wouldn't be dealing.
so you
I
keep your
wouldn't be
pimp
so
hand
dog
strong.
thirsty that I would deal with a woman who was name calling me all the time and saying, "Hey, he's this and he's that," and then I'm still hitting her up and say, "Hey, do you want to hang out?" That's weak to me. Um,
I'm
and
I was
glad you
about
said
to
that.
say
Go ahead.
she would be gone
yeah, and
immediately.
honestly,
I'm glad.
I also speak Polish. I speak a little bit of Polish, so I can understand. And when I deal with women, I typically have almost never seen them go on their phone when they're around me, unless they're responding to a quick text or whatever. But yeah, I've never had that situation happen to me. Maybe I'm the weird one here, but I've never seen it.
And that's my thing. So what you said, your response was, if that did occur, you would just stop messing with her in general.
Oh, it shouldn't even have happened in the first place. I guarantee you, there would have been some red flags that I would have seen before that even comes to that, to even exist. So you
No,
don't just go
Elijah likes red flags.
Tell me
yeah,
those
you
stories.
don't just go from 0 to 100. There's stuff that happens, and you can choose to act on it and to bring it up and tell the person about it, or to walk away from them, or you can choose to just let it happen. And if she's hot enough, I've made the mistake of letting it happen. It's never gotten to the point where they I've had them explode on me at times for whatever reason, but I've never heard them ever say, "Oh, you're older" or whatever. I've never heard that as a way a use of weaponry against me. I've never heard that. It's always, "Oh, I don't want to ever see you again," or "Oh, you're this and you're that." It's
Hmm.
never anything personal.
Right. And I think that's very interesting because I think that's what separates our experiences.
Mm.
Not necessarily. I never had flings with anybody. Been to strip club a couple of times, but never had flings. But I've had situations where, like, when I used to have to work around people and shit, they'll be nice to you in your face, but then you overhear them talk shit about you. This guy smells bad. Guy smells like ass. Wooty wooty woo. And I know I'm not the only one who has experienced something similar to that, where there'll be a situation where people will genuinely smile in your face, be cordial and stuff like that. But maybe one
Yeah.
day, I don't know, you just walk around or, you overhear them say, well, disrespectful things to you. So you trusted them. You had a certain level of trust and respect for them. But now that you realize or you found out that they have these thoughts about you, now you don't really trust people anymore. It goes back to something I don't know what Bruce was saying. Yeah, it actually goes back to that relationship thing Bruce was talking about.
Well, I want to
Where
say to add what you were just now saying. I've actually had it the opposite, where like maybe I'm working with someone, and maybe in the background I've heard a few words exchanged about that, or I've seen reactions from that person. And then as time passes on, because of me carrying myself a certain way and walking a certain way, and dealing with people with confidence, that person's interest has actually gone up in me, regardless if I um, come off as unfresh or whatever. That's happened before. I've literally gone out with a f- quite a few different girls that I've worked with, that I've seen them react,
You must be
and
killing the game right now.
I'm not. I can handle my own, but
Bro, Elijah's killing the game.
The way he's talking, bro, he sounds
I
like he's
I've
a.
seen it where they straight up will be like any other person, but because how they see that I'm not bothered by it, or I act like it doesn't exist, it's that confidence that's exuding as a stronger odor than my actual odor, if that makes sense. So I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with like pheromones or something that are overpowering my odor. I don't know the science behind it, but all I know, it's very, very, very important to carry yourself very well at all times. So if you're walking around upset or looking depressed, whether it's because you had some drama at work, or whether it's a condition like that's, people are gonna see that. And I actually remember at that same job, when I actually used to have my day ruined just by a few reactions, people would ask me, "Hey, are you okay?" And I don't realize I'm giving off this energy of like someone who's like upset or down or whatever. So I just think it's all in my mind. But people, I think people don't realize that other strangers can pick up on your energy a lot more than you think they can.
Yeah, well, I think it also has to just do with body language. Um, when you like face your when you look down the ground, you slouch, you look off into a distance. That gives off some type of impression that there's something concerning that's happening to you. Well, it could be some other things too. I also wanted to respond to the chat as well because a couple of people was like, "Oh, can anyone join?" or "I would like to join." I guess I just never, I just didn't think about it. Let me try to do that real quick. And while I'm doing that, while I'm doing it right now, um,
While he's doing that, you guys can ask questions. Like we can, we're we're more than willing to answer any questions that y'all have if you don't want to join the stream.
Bro, I ain't answering no questions.
yeah, and then, yeah, you don't have to answer questions, especially
No,
if it's
I'm
too
joking.
personal.
I'm joking.
Uh, yeah, but yeah, that's also if people want to ask some stuff or want to join, they can join, do whatever. I forgot what I was gonna say. I lost my train of thought. But yeah, I guess I'll just go back to what I was going to originally. Okay, somebody's up. Well,
I'll say this. This
let's see
came
if
up in my
she's.
mind as I was saying earlier with the whole mental thing. If there's any way I can sum it up, it's acceptance and adaptation are the two most important things when you're going through hard times. You need to accept the situation that you're in and realize if you cannot control something, to not worry about it, and then you need to adapt to it. I think that's how people and humans have, not just humans, but animals, living creatures have evolutionized over time. Acceptance and adaptation. And so, with this condition, you will have to accept some things, you know, and you will be forced to adapt. But if you just sit there and stay home all day and feel sorry for yourself, you're not adapting, you're not accepting. So you're going to continue to self punish, if that makes sense. So I mean, that's the biggest takeaway here.
Oh, there's another person. I wanted to say this because now I remember what I was going to say. Because basically, when I asked you the question, you made that example of some woman saying something behind your back or whatever, and basically trying to highlight that a lot of people experience that, whether it be coworkers, friends, loved ones,
Mute your
etc.
mic. Carrie, mute your mic.
Let
Was
me
that
mute.
mine?
Let me
Mute your mic.
mute it for her. All right, cool. So, damn, what was I gonna say? the point I was going to say is,
You said
if
when
you
people are
experience
talking
those
about
types
your
of
back.
situations, naturally you don't trust those people anymore. You don't trust the coworkers. You don't trust the friends, maybe even family members. I have a story in particular where um, I would always ask my grandmother or tell my grandmother about stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I don't smell you," whatever. Until one day, like this was like the night before I actually had to drive to Jacksonville. And I obviously took a bath, but I was eating terribly throughout the days I was at my mother's house. So I hugged her one last time, and while she left to go outside, she didn't think I would be able to hear her. But since like my room is right next to the porch, I could hear her. And he was like, "Oh, he smells so bad." So the person, like my grandmother, who I would reveal this condition that gave me like a lot of anxiety, depressive spells, and stuff like that, would tell me or assure me that I don't smell. But now, overhearing her, she says, "Wow, he smells so bad." And when you hear something like that from for a person that it's not like a coworker or a friend that you knew for a couple of years, someone you knew most of your life. Now you're on some shit where you're like, I don't know who the fuck to trust anymore. And then it makes you, I guess, shield yourself from a lot of people, which was another thing I wanted to highlight. Once you have just a couple of those experiences, now you're thinking to yourself, okay, I can't reveal too much about myself because naturally, from my experiences, they are going to use that against me. Even if I reveal, like, hey, I have this condition and this is why I smell, they'll still use that against me and they still wouldn't really be, oh, I got to add Javier on.
Well, yeah,
As
exactly. I mean, just that's the
helpful.
magic conch example. Don't even bring it up until you need to. So, I mean, if you don't want to, I don't know. In my opinion, you know, you shouldn't really trust anyone. Like even like the women that I deal with that stay with me for a longer period of time than most of them. Like if they're with me for more than a year or so, and we don't have any title or nothing like that, they're more trustworthy than the other women. But that doesn't mean that I trust them completely. You know what I mean? Like I still wouldn't trust them to the point where I would sit them down and tell them, "Hey, this is what's going on." I have absolute no reason to tell them that. They haven't given me one. Everything's working out as if I didn't have it, and so with going off of what you said, I mean, when you're talking about how you were telling someone that you trusted about this, and then they go behind your back and tell someone else. I mean, another thing is like, bro, if we didn't even have this condition and we were just like regular people, and then we ran into someone who had a condition, of course we're not going to be educated on it, and we're not going
Right.
to logically think, oh well, maybe it's his diet, or maybe it's
Right.
SIBO or whatever. We're just gonna think, wow, you stink, and that's it. We Some people are more respectful about it than others. It's just the way of life.
Yeah, it's funny because it sort of reminds me of something I wanted to ask well, I guess I just asked all of you who are here present because it's weird when I talk to some people and they say that they never actually talk to their family members or anything about it. Like that was like the first thing I ever did. Like once I started realizing, okay, this is not all in my head. This is really happening. I used to just think it was just happening in high school, but once I got outside, it was not an issue. But once I started experiencing it everywhere, then I'm like, oh, okay, this is some weird shit. I gotta talk to somebody about this. Um, so I wanted to say, like, have you ever I guess I know you said you never spoke to your brothers or your sister. Did anyone ever talk to their family members once they realize, oh crap, I do have this weird odor thing that I cannot detect, but other
You're,
people saying I smell bad?
you're saying, did anyone talk to my family about my?
No, did you talk to your family? Did you open
Um,
up when
yeah,
you
yeah, for sure. I would ask my sis. I would ask all my family members, most of them. But like everyone else, you would get mixed responses, or people would just say, "Oh no, no, I don't, I don't see anything." I quickly realized that there was absolutely no point in bringing it up to people. And if it was no point in me bringing it up to family members, why on earth would I bring it up to? friends or coworkers or a girl that I just met. It made no sense. It would be counterintuitive. So luckily for me, I realized very early on that bringing it up is not going to really solve anything. If anything, it's going to make the problem worse because you're not going to get the answer that you want. Then you're going to be all in your head. And typically, you're going to be asking that stuff maybe before work, maybe for going to class, maybe before a date. That's the worst possible time to build up some sort of anxiety and to shred your own confidence. Um, so in a way, I saw it as shooting myself in the foot. So I just pretty much stopped doing it because I never saw good results from it, and then I just ended up moving on. Um, Easier said than done, of course, but luckily, like I said, for me, I learned from that very quickly that it wasn't going to solve my issue at all.
Hmm. I guess Javier, since you got your mic off.
I'm sorry. How you guys been?
Shit, chilling, chilling.
Sure.
And I technically, I never really revealed this yet. I'm actually going to test my FMO3 gene in
Nice.
the matter of weeks. So we're going to see for a fact if I really have TMAL or not, because the urine tests are unreliable, and the
Yeah.
most effective tests are genetic tests. So that's going to be a thing. And if that doesn't come out, or if that comes out normal, there's another test that's going to be even more extensive.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, I'm chilling on a Friday.
That's
How
what's up,
about
bro.
you?
Chilling, chilling. Just got off of work. I saw you were on. I was about to have some whiskey and just chill at home, play some games, chill with my
Damn,
dogs. Yeah.
damn.
Been a while since I've been on here.
How's it? How does like liquor affect you? I thought like I always thought alcohol and coffee are just like two of the
So
biggest.
That's the other thing I don't partake in. Beer or liquor, it's gonna
yeah.
skyrocket.
Yeah,
So I have like a sort of a revelation of what was happening with me with this older thing, and I came to the conclusion that it's for some people. I'm not saying for everybody, but for some people, it's a like a spiritual demonic thing going on. No, listen. So no, I'm this serious. And when I figured it out, I realized what was happening, and I turned to God. And kind of since then, things have gotten a lot better, to the point where like I'm comfortable drinking liquor. I'm comfortable going to buy liquor. Before I wouldn't even go to the store. Like I would avoid all interaction with people and stuff. And so like a lot has changed since the last time I talked on here. Um, I just want to say that like yeah, that's what happened to me. Like I finally kind of realized what was going on with the whole. I didn't have TMAU. What I did have was something like it's called PTMA. You could
you mean
there's
PATM?
I'm sorry, PATM, sorry, PATM, and that's what I had. Um, and there's a crazy story behind how I figured out that this was demonic. I could tell it one day or whatever, but
I would
eventually,
love to hear this story.
yeah, brother, it's real, and but it's demonic. But check this out, like it's sort of what Elijah was talking about. Is like if you don't pay attention to it, you could live a normal life in the sense that like if you are a kind, joyful person and you show kindness and joy to people, and that's kind of what God wants, what Jesus Christ wants, that stuff starts to go away. You don't you'll notice like the reactions less and less, or you just push through the reactions. Whereas somebody might still like scratch their nose, clear their throat, but then you push through it, and it's kind of like you were saying, like you kind of, it's almost like it's not there. It's like they still will talk to you. They still will, because you're showing an energy of joyness, of kindness and gratefulness.
Body odor doesn't kill you; it just makes you uncomfortable.
Yeah, but so anyways, so that's what happened to me, and I could tell the story of why it's demonic. If you want to, we could. I'll email you or something if you want to just do one, because I know you don't have. You're kind of short on time,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah. Now looking at it, looking at the time, we are short on time. But I
yeah,
guess we can just do I guess the quick recap is that you gave your life to Jesus, and the body of your
yeah,
demons went away, or something.
yeah. So what happened was a bunch of stuff through the PATM group. Um, some crazy stuff happened, and somebody they started saying there was stuff in my life that was happening apart from PATM that I never related to PATM. And when that person came to me and told me that they were going through the same thing, I got scared and I was like, what the what's going on? Like, is this person a federal agent? Is this person the CIA? Like, well, how could this person be going through this weird thing that was happening with me? And then he started telling me about the cult and how this stuff started happening to him when he got into the cult.
Are you
And what
fucking around right now?
no, brother, I'm not. And no, listen, and in the PATM group, I don't know about the TMAU group, but in the PTMA group, there is like a subset of people that will push occult stuff. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's all this all new to you, but like in that group, there's like people like, oh, I went to a witch doctor and it's starting to go away, and it because PATM is a little bit it's different than TMAU.
You you know that some of those messages are people spamming like the different groups and chats and stuff and trying to just get money, right? I'm not
Yeah,
dismissing what you're saying. I'm saying that some
no,
of those, because I've seen it in the Mebo group. They'll post, oh, I
yeah,
contacted such and such doctor and he used the spell and took away
yeah.
my diabetes, yada 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 yada.
So
Those
they
are
talk. Yeah,
scams.
no, but there is again. I could tell you, there's people that I talk to in the PATM group, and I could there is like people with they really believe they have PATM and how they really believe that the witch doctor helped them, and they'll push that onto people like, hey, this witch doctor helped me. And I'm not talking about spammers. I'm talking about in the flesh, real life people that are in that group who really think that they have PATM. But anyways, for me, I realized that that stuff is spiritual because what was happening to me, the older situation, when you say like it seems ungodly. The distances that at which I was affecting people, it seemed like I was affecting people. It was ungodly. It seemed like too far away. Like, dude, ain't no way I could smell this bad from,
No,
50 feet
if I
away,
drink
100 feet away. Let me finish. 100 feet away or 50 feet away. It's ungodly. It's like at the speed it happens too. Like, it's just not possible for air to travel instantly like that. So I didn't go into details when I would talk to you here about exactly what I have, but that would stuff would happen to me. So like, but the whole time I would make arguments for it. I would be like, no, well, the wind could carry the air that could carry the smell that far, or like I would, also the cars like moving forward create like a Doppler effect, and then um that pushes like air forward as well, and that could carry the odor. Like I would rationalize it. I never thought that it was spiritual. Never thought it was spiritual. So recently I realized it was spiritual.
I'll say real quick,
For me.
to Javier's point. Basically, he said he went through a change, and to me, religion is very mental. So that kind of goes back to what I was saying. It's a mentality, and he pretty much. I don't believe it's demonic. I mean, one of the guys that I know that has this is probably the most spiritual man that I know. He's probably Jesus Christ himself, in all honesty.
Well, that's already demonic, but to say that about somebody, but the thing is that like that's what I said, like there was another part of the story that wasn't PATM
Bro,
related.
your dog, bro.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. There wasn't PATM related. Hey, wasn't PATM related, but the guy that I met, the guy that I met in the PATM group, he was going through the same thing. I mean, you don't have to believe me, brother. It's good that
I'm
you have
not saying
it's
I'm
good
not
that you have
saying
a
that I don't
positive.
believe you.
Yeah,
I'm
it's good that you have a
what
positive outlook, though, Elijah.
what I think
I
is
admire
happening
that.
with what you're saying is you kind of took the same positive outlook and starting to ignore the reactions and stuff like me and Elijah were saying, and you got the same result, even though you're blaming it on something else. That's just my point of view on it.
Yeah, but there was another aspect to it that I can't go into detail here, right? That is related to the PATM group. I'm sorry, PATM group. I don't know
And the
if
other
you
thing
guys
that
have
you
it,
were saying about how
but
far it carries, the thing
I
you're saying
already
about how
I
far it
already
carries.
explained I already explained that I would rationalize through the wind
Well,
and
I was about.
through all that.
Let
So
me. Can I finish?
yeah, go ahead.
Can I
Well,
add
you
to
kind
the
of
conversation
interrupted
now?
me, but go ahead.
The anytime I took kefir, it spread super far. Like what you were saying, where you would think that it couldn't go that far. It just built it up so much to where the wind was carrying it
Yeah,
super
but
far because there was so much. And as
okay,
soon as I got off, let me finish. As soon as I stopped drinking kefir,
mhm.
it stopped traveling as far as what it was because there was less of it. I'm just letting you know my experience, bro.
That's fine. That's okay for you. I just wanted to share that with Jermaine, who I had shared the story before. But Jermaine, I will say this to you: if you want to test TMAU, I have TMAU detection tubes that I've tested myself with.
It just said the urine is not the most reliable,
Oh,
so he's
I have
going to get a DNA
TMAU
test.
detection tubes. They're gas detection tubes that you
Hmm.
could yeah, if you want I could show them to you. It's a gas detection gun, and it has a tube, and it
A
takes air
gas
samples.
detection gun.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Show, send me a link to that.
I sent
Something.
you a
It's
picture.
probably
Do
not
I
a
have you
gun,
on?
but
Do I have you on Discord?
am I on Discord? I have a Discord. I don't think you have. Maybe you're connected. I'm not sure.
Can you add me on Discord?
Yeah, I mean, put it in my email or private chat, and then I'll connect with you on Discord.
Yeah, and I could send you the pictures. I mean, if you want, I could send you the tubes. I can't send you the gun because the gun's expensive. It's like $600. So,
Where did you? Who gave you that instrument?
that the gas detection tubes. I
No,
know that
the gun in itself.
the gun I bought it. I bought it through a gas. There's
Back
a
alley.
company that does. So companies do gas detection for all kinds of gases, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they need guns. So it's called a gun. It's like it might be, is it called a gun? Gas detection tube gun? It might be called a gun, but anyways, it's where you put the tube in, and then it takes the air sample. So the gun is like $600, and the tubes are like 10 for $100. And I think I have like 3 tubes left. So
Man, there's so much you have said in these 10 minutes that I have so many questions to.
I agree.
yeah.
Um,
And I want to introduce myself, guys. My name is Carrie.
Hi, Carrie.
hello,
How you all doing?
I'm good. How are you?
we're good.
Um, I'm from the old school. I'm 50 years old. So, and
Okay.
I've had TMAU since I was about 17 years old.
Okay.
I used to be real active on the boards and just watching YouTube videos, but sometimes you have to you have to get on with life and just try to live your life and survive with TMAU. But it's so interesting to me the younger generation with TMAU. You guys are more out loud. There I see it's a lot of different scenarios and reasons why people think they have TMAU. I guess that's okay. But
Hmm.
after I gave birth to my daughter, it triggered my TMAU.
Mm.
Hmm.
And I have 5 siblings. My sister has a light case of it, but I have like the extreme version of it.
Oh, so you have confirmed TMAU.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah. Dr. Preddy, the late Dr. Preddy, uh, tested me back in 2003, I think it was.
mm,
Yeah, so
very
yeah, I knew I had it
Man, that's a long time ago. 20 years ago.
20 years ago,
yeah.
and the thing that was the youngsters, the young guys on here and stuff. Um, I heard one of the guys talking about how he has his confidence and things like that. You better never let it go. Never let the confidence go because 20 years from now, you know if there's no cure or whatever, you will still want to live your life. I ran in the house for like 20 years. For 20 years, I ran in the house and just tried to survive the best way I did. And it's one of my biggest regrets because I still had TMAU. I still want to be happy and live my life. So I didn't have to live those 20 years inside of the house like that.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard the guy talking about it's a demon. I've had church people tell me, oh, that's a demon on you and things like that. You know, I pray to God to get rid of TMAU. I personally don't think it's a demon. I do think that it is some type of enzyme that we're missing. Dr. Preddy was a wonderful man, and he really was trying to help us. But there's not a lot of funding for TMAU.
Carrie, I just wanna clarify one thing. I 100% believe that TMAU is a real disease. 100%.
Correct.
I'm not saying that's demonic. There's a subset called PATM
Okay.
that is what I'm saying, that some of those people, it is some sort of demonic spiritual thing going on there.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not saying TMAU at all. I 100% believe TMAU is a real disease. There's science behind it, and there's just like cancer is a real disease, just like
Exactly.
all
Exactly.
these, like that. I'm not trying to disrespect you or nothing. TMAU, real disease.
But it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like I said, I don't be on the computer a lot anymore
yeah,
because it's been so many years.
yeah,
I'll see people say, I cured my TMAU. A cure for TMAU. There is no cure for TMAU. Even if you know how many years I went into drugstores and tried things and got the odor down. And then, like, I'm running, oh, girl, I'm pure, telling my other friend who has it. And she was like, oh, okay, good for you. And then 3 months later, I'm not saying that it's cured anymore. So for me, I'm careful never to say that I'm cured because I haven't fixed the enzyme, so I'm not cured. But when I see that, it's just it just bothers me when people say that because there is no cure, and when you give false hope to people that they can do it too.
yeah. Oh, I agree.
You're
Well,
you're 100% correct.
Yeah, and I was suicidal. I'm not suicidal anymore, but for years, I was just straight up suicidal. My daughter, she asked me, Mom, what is your greatest accomplishment? Not killing myself. Just not killing myself from this. And once I said, I'm not going to kill myself because of this. And think about it. I'm coming from back in the 90s. Back then, wasn't no YouTube. So
right.
literally back then, when doctors said you were crazy, they could take you to court and get you medicine because you're saying that you have an odor that no one smells. But I found the book the first year I had this TMAU called The Human Body Odor, and it talked about bronchohydrosis and hyperhidrosis. So for a number of years, I thought I had bronchohydrosis. But the book let me know that it was possible for me to have an odor, and for whatever reason, some people smell it and some people didn't. It was just weird to me that all the doctors didn't smell me, but the people at work, the people on the bus. So that book helped me also not commit suicide, and my love of God, of course. But yeah, it's you guys, I'm telling you, do not retreat in the house with this because you're gonna get older. You're gonna work through this, and you're gonna learn how to live the best life that you can with TMAU. I wanted to be a RN. I'm a healthcare nurse because I had to. It's like I had to let that go because it was hard for me to sit in the classroom and just hear the comments. but I just felt the niche that I was able to work and bring in income. But I also got on disability also, so let me be real with that. But let me stop taking up all the time. See, I'm almost 50, so I'm like a mama trying to just help you guys and tell you all, do not let TMAU run you in the house.
Yeah.
Well said.
Well
Well,
said, Kerry. Well said.
I'm sorry.
I did want to say this. This took a very interesting turn here. Talking about confidence, and
That's
then
right.
went into like demonic forces, and then going back into confidence, and I guess this ending on a good note, actually. Um, because it was only supposed to be, I thought it was only going to be for an hour, but just 2 hours. We hit like the typical time limit. I do appreciate everybody for hopping in and talking about their thoughts on many different things. Uh, I do want to say this before any of you go. If would it be okay if anybody wanted to email you because maybe they have questions or they just want to connect with you? Would it be okay if I actually shared your emails?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, sir, it would be okay. And if anybody wants to email me about the TMAU test tubes, they're free to do so. And if I can send them to them, I will. I have like 3 or 4 left. And yep.
And Tremaine, would it be okay? I did call in to promote my book. I just been because I've been promoting my book. I've been listening to you guys a lot more than I usually would. I've been watching you for a while though, Tremaine. So I would just kind of click on every once in a while and just kind of listen to you. But
Are
for me,
you
I,
Wilson?
I'm Wilson Carey. Yeah, that's
Okay.
just the name for the book. My name actually isn't actually Carey Wilson, but when I wrote the book back in 2008, I didn't want to embarrass my kids, so
Hmm.
I used another name. But the book is literally about those 7 years that I tried to get diagnosed, and it was horrific. It was absolutely horrific. My doctor think that I might have PTSD because of those 7 years, but just remember, we didn't have YouTube, so I'm fighting the doctors just with just myself, and I'm a black
Yeah.
woman from the ghetto, so they really want to try to hit me.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Oh,
I
but yeah,
mean, yeah. I know. I know you. I actually think I seen your book on Google, but yeah, you could post it in the comments. I mean, if you have a book or I don't know, you have an email that you want to list. I don't know if you have the capability of posting in the comments. You
okay,
can email me. If you know my email is just bosuffers@gmail.com.
okay,
So
okay.
I could, hey, that would be a very good, that'd be an interesting interview to have someone wrote a book about T Mal.
But
Yeah, let's yeah, just hit me up through the
I sure
email
will. Thank you so
and we'll
much.
yeah. Um yeah, but other than that, yeah, like I was saying, appreciate everyone for hopping in and telling about their stories and their viewpoints on things. And this is Friday night live stream. I forgot the number, but we're out of here. See you
All
later,
right.
guys.
See
Bye
you
See
guys.
you
bye.
later.
Appreciate all you guys. Thank you.
Peace.